Bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It is a Tuesday. It's the Tuesday tune-up, and some bank accounts might need to get tuned up. We'll talk about that this morning as Atlanta United, River Plate, Defensa Justicia, Hector David Martinez are in a bit of a dance, and we'll explain where things currently stand. We might have an update on that here in a bit as Marcelo Gallardo will be speaking to the media in Argentina. River Plate plays in the Copa Argentina tomorrow against a third division side. But the questions are going to be about Santiago Sosa. The questions are going to be now about Hector David Martinez. And a number of other things, because River's got some work to do to get the squad ready for where Gallardo thinks it should be. We'll get into all that. We'll talk about the CBA, and now that it is officially, completely, and totally ratified, and we are good for a good while, barring continuations of coronavirus to where the force majeure clause would be invoked. Hopefully not. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about where things stand and who won, because that's been the number one thing here is who won instead of, hey, both sides actually worked together to solve a big problem. Who won?
Who won?
We'll see what the judges' scorecards have to say on that one. We'll talk about Zinedine Zidane. Real Madrid. There's a bomba out of Spain this morning, and we'll talk about that, and we'll see if it is a real or fake bomba. I don't think El Mataflow had anything to do with it, but you never know these days. We'll get into that about Sergio Ramos' future, and we'll see if Zinedine Zidane is able to find a few guys off the street to play for Real Madrid. Maybe you shouldn't have loaned out Martin Odegaard to Arsenal. Just saying. When you have like 11 first-team players available. All kinds of stuff. And no, we're not going 3 hours yet. It's coming eventually. Hopefully you enjoyed the socially distanced piece together soccer over there last night. Those are always kind of fun to put together because they have a very different feel. They're kind of strange in some ways, and hopefully you enjoyed the strangeness of it. Let's talk about strange, and then let's talk about what's going on with River and Hector David Martinez, and what could happen here, what we could see next. It's always fun when we get into the Argentine segment, and the headline on TIC, as I flipped it over this morning, the pass is stuck. I learned a new word. The pass is stuck for Hector David Martinez and River Plate. Let's go back in time. Over the weekend, it was all done and dusted. Martinez is coming to Atlanta United. He's going to be a reinforcement for Gabriel Heinze, center back. Very good on the ball. Hernan Crespo says he's a future Argentine national team center back. All sounds good. 4-year deal, $3.75 million or $3.5 million, $1.75 to Defensa, $1.75 to River. They each own 50%. Defensa wants to get the deal done. All good. Okay, then we hear Marcelo Gallardo and River is like, hey, wait a minute. We might want to bring him back. We had him before. We like him. We did sell you 50% for $900,000. Maybe we were a little hasty in that, but we could use a center back. Let's get this done. So they start to get it done. And last night on Sportia, TIC said that out of the deals River is trying to complete, that this one was 99% done. They didn't say 100. Nope. They said 99 because the reporting this morning is a little different. The reporting is that Martinez, who had a contract offer in front of him as well from Atlanta, 4 years, he is like, wait a minute. I was offered some things that are not in my current contract, like cash. Yeah. And we don't know how much. We don't know what that salary would have been. It would have been more. It wouldn't have been millions of dollars. It probably would have been, anywhere between $300,000 and $600,000, I think is a safe assumption. He's not making that now for a year. And the report that we first saw from one of the conductors on looks like 100 FM in Buenos Aires who covers River, Wally Jakovsevich. Did not expect that one.
Jakovsevich.
I did not expect a Jakovsevich in the River defense Atlanta United Hector David Martinez saga, but sure. I like the last line of Wally's update. Los Yankees are still negotiating for him. Hey, maybe it happens. Martinez wanted an improved contractual offer from River, as well as going back there on loan. And if they don't do it, looks like he's happy to go to Atlanta United. This is going to be good times. This is going to be ridiculous. The silliest of silly season sagas is Hector David Martinez right now. It is not like anything else we have seen so far. So it's not, now I think some people are getting a little confused. This is not a situation where Atlanta is bidding at the moment. They're not bidding on a transfer fee. This is, let's go back in the order of priorities here. Defensa, if they have to choose which offer they're going to accept first at the club level, they're going to pick River in this situation because they do a lot of business with River. All right. Now, River's got to come to terms with the player. And the player is like, yo, wait a minute. I was going to go there and they were going to give me more money. You're going to have to give me something. Are they going to match? Maybe he's not even asking that, but he's maybe asking for more security, more years on the deal. Maybe he's asking for a lot more money. Maybe he's asking for a little more money. But he is like, hey, I'm coming to you instead of going there. They were going to do this. You got to do something. What are you going to do? And that's where things stand because River doesn't have a lot of room to do much. They're not in a great financial position. Are they going to be able to afford that? We'll have to wait and see. But yes, the pass is stuck, according to Teise, and Hector David Martinez could go different directions. Burns says River could afford to pay him $600,000. Do they want to? I mean, we can all throw things out there like, yeah, they can afford this. Yeah, they could do this. Yeah, they can do this. Yeah, they could do that. Are they going to is the question. Are they going to give him 4 years of a deal? We don't know. Nobody really knows because this is all very, very strange in the situation. So we will keep you posted on all of it. We'll keep you updated. I'll be very curious to see if Marcelo Gallardo addresses it in his media availability today ahead of the Copa Argentina match tomorrow. He's going to get asked, I would assume, unless they're able to block that question. I don't know what their format is for their media availabilities, but it's going to come up. He's probably going to get asked about Santiago Sosa as well, I would assume. We'll keep you posted on what we hear.
Yeah, Chris Hutchison was wondering whether or not the number of flights from Atlanta to Argentina could be increased on a daily basis.
There's not many. I think there's one.
So, there's a lot of folks on the timeline this morning who were basically saying, it's not over. It's not over yet.
Not over yet.
It's not over yet. So this is once again, you're in silly season, and it's, how would we phrase this as a soap opera? As the transfer fee turns, as the transfer turns, something like that.
Sure, you're the name guy.
I'm trying to think of something with River quickly.
2 flights weekly from Buenos Aires.
As the river flows.
2 flights weekly from Buenos Aires to Atlanta. That's it. I thought there was at least a daily flight. My bad. Friday and Sunday night. That's it, according to Thomas Jewin.
Well, thank you, Thomas Jewin. I guess that the number of flights do need to be increased. But yes, as the river flows, that's your Tuesday edition.
Are you singing collective soul songs?
Let's see, one riff, 3 albums. I probably could find the key, but
are you trying to insult my friends, John?
No, not at all.
No, you just did actually. That's pretty absurd. You just insulted my friends from Stockbridge, Georgia. You insulted a great bass player and great soccer fan in Will Turpin. I will have to challenge you to a duel after the show.
You got the white glove out. I love collective soul.
You just insulted them, so you obviously don't. You can't really walk that one back, John. That's fine.
Actually, I do. Just that the riff sounds the same. That's all.
Except it doesn't. But anyway, man, this went off. I didn't expect that one either. John starts throwing out insults about bands that I know. Good times. We'll see what happens with this. I mean, I don't really know what to tell you in terms of likelihood or anything because I didn't see this one coming. I had assumed that this part was already sorted out when River said, "Yo, we want to bring you back instead." We'll see what happens. Anything can happen. Jared is daring you to drop some REM takes, and then I would probably have to get in the car, and you'd see me like tackling you at some point during the taping of the show. Once again, I love Athens music. I love Stockbridge music. Hey, dude, there's not a lot of Stockbridge music, John. You don't have to say it that way. There's one band. It's one band out of Stockbridge. Stockbridge isn't that big.
Dream So Real, Pylon, REM. I'm all for it. Pylon, it gives you 2.5-minute songs. They give you like 20 songs in an album.
Here's what I'm going to need to find a sounder for. Walking It Back. I'm going to need a Walking It Back.
Well, why don't you just do like the heavy machinery reverse?
Nobody wants to hear that sound. Yeah, you're going to need one of those because you're I wouldn't say you're getting good at it, but you're starting to have to do it more often these days. Anyway, the pass is stuck when it comes to Martinez.
Is that a t-shirt for us, by the way, now?
Is what a t-shirt, John?
The pass is stuck.
I don't know. This just happened like not even an hour ago, and now you're talking about t-shirts.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. The player's desire to wear the sacred mantle again weighed more, and his return is almost a fact, according to Lautaro Toshi before this morning. That was how it was phrased.
Okay. There you go.
The player's desire to wear the sacred mantle. Of course, this is off of La Página Millonaria, so it was the player's desire to wear the sacred mantle again. This lyrical, angelic quality about it.
Okay. And no, I'm not a fan of trolling large fan bases in other countries with clubs that have decades of history. I don't think that's really a fun thing to do. Because we get really bent out of shape when people troll soccer fans about things. So why don't we just don't troll? Why don't we just not troll anybody? Can we stop the trolling? It's no fun. We'll keep you posted on this. We'll keep you posted. I've got Teise over on the other side of the room here, and if Gallardo comes up and I can see anything on the crawl underneath, I'll keep you posted on what he has to say. So that is the big news of the morning from an Atlanta United front. The big news of the morning from an MLS front is the CBA, and it is fully signed off and ratified from the league. It is all done by the Players Association as well. And there's a lot of breakdowns on this. We're going to go with Paul Kennedy over at Soccer America. Just very simply on what's new, what's different, key points. In February last year, when the CBA was agreed to but not signed yet, it was supposed to cover 2020 through 2024. Then the pandemic hit before it could be ratified. June of 2020, it was modified, and it was signed, and it was ratified. They added a year to 25. They also added a force majeure clause for the first time in league history. That force majeure clause was invoked at the end of the season. Negotiations, finally got it done. Now the deal covers 2021 to 2027. That's what the CBA runs through. MLS got the 2 years they wanted. That's done. We've talked about the idea of the World Cup in 26 changing where the league stands, what things look like. It could. It really could. I think it probably should if the league is doing its job. I think you'll have a lot of interest from a sponsorship standpoint in soccer in this country, and if the league capitalizes on it, they'll be in great shape. Are the players in a better position to have negotiated their next CBA at the end of the 24 season without knowing what that looks like, at the end of the 25 season, still not knowing what that looks like, or now at the end of the 27 season, knowing exactly where the league stands. I could argue it's the last. I could argue it's the latter, saying that now they're going to know. Like, they'll know if the league has added 10 new sponsors after the 26 World Cup or during 26 and 27. Well, pony up, boys. We know what you got. You're going to know this now. It's not going to be, a guess. It's not going to be a guessing game at the end of 25. Because what happens? We always see it. What's going to happen if they had negotiated at the end of the 25 season? Well, things are a little slow in capitalizing on the World Cup. The World Cup hasn't happened yet. We can't give you a whole bunch of stuff because we don't know what we're going to have either. I think the players will be in a better position to capitalize on the World Cup here. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out because the league's obviously going to try to keep costs down. That's what they do. Second point from Paul Kennedy, the players got what they wanted from the league up front about no pay cuts. And they made that clear at the end of the season. They made it clear back in June. They didn't want to have any pay cuts. They're not going to have any pay cuts. No pay cuts this season. Everything stays the same. They will be paid in full. MLS, out of all of it, and this is combining the whole situation here, which is a little hard to do because we were definitely in a different situation last February. We were in a very different position last June with the pandemic compared to now. They get almost 3 years of no pay increases because of all of this. I mean, you couldn't see it coming in February. I don't think anybody in February thought we would be where we are today with the pandemic. I don't think people thought in June we'd be where we are today with the pandemic. I don't. I think in June the idea was 21 would be the bounce back season. Bounce back season is going to be 22 now. It just is. So you get almost 3 years of no pay increases. 20, 21, and 22. Okay. That's the bounce back. All right. It's a big change from what was originally negotiated. Again, back in February, pre-pandemic. You would have had the salary cap, the effective available spend is the best way to put it, because it's cap, it's allocation money, it's the discretionary TAM. Originally, 22 would have been 10.455 million. Now it's going to be 9.325. And that's come down a little bit more from what was even in June. Well, again, things have changed from February and June to now. That's where it stands. It has jumped up because it wasn't negotiated in 25 and 26 and 27. That had not been talked about. From the last year of the pre-negotiated years, 24, it came down about $1 million from what was originally supposed to be there in 24, 11.64 to 10.45. All right. In 27 now, with the additional years on it, it's going to be 13 and some change in the available spend. So they did bounce those additional years up more than what they had originally talked about. But, and the players are going to tell you that the MLS got big savings in the later years. The later years weren't bargained, really. They did get later years in 20, or more savings in 23 and 24, but again, the bounce back is not 21 now, it's 22. I think it makes sense where it stands. Could they have jumped up 25, 26, and 27 a little bit more? Yeah, they could have. And if I was the players, I would have been fighting for that. I don't know if they did fight for it. Because the negotiation from the players' side really seemed just all over the map. They should have been negotiating hard as, okay, you want to do 2 extra years? You don't know what we're going to be in the position of with the World Cup? Well, we're going to assume, because you guys have told us, that you're going to be in a really good position in 26 and 27. So you want those years on? Cool, it's going to cost you. Bump those numbers up. 25, we'd already agreed to 11.6. Okay, cool. 26 should be 13. 27 should be 15. Let's go. But I don't know where that negotiation went to. We didn't really hear any back and forth on that. The free agency stuff, the minimum salaries are going up as they would have gone up. The free agency has opened up. Those things were the minimum salaries were already heading in the right direction. The new free agency stuff is good for the players. That's something they have wanted for a long time. That's something that maybe they didn't get as much of as they should have in 15. They got more in the initial agreement. They've gotten even more out of this. That's where they have gained, is in more freedom on free agency. So, cool. I think the players could have done a better job in negotiating more money into the cap, into the available spend with the additional years. I think they should have fought harder on that rather than fighting the additional years to begin with. I think the players are going to be in a better position at the end of 27 to negotiate a new CBA than they would have been at the end of 24 originally. I think that's going to be a net win for them in the long run, because by that point, the league will have made their money back after the pandemic. At that point, you will know exactly what the boom is from the World Cup, and the players should be trying to get a piece of that. But they'll know what they're talking about rather than it being hypothetical and then being shut down by the league as, oh, well, that's just hypothetical. We don't know yet, which would be a valid negotiating point. Now you can't do that. If you had 10 sponsors, if you had 5 sponsors, if those are reported at millions and millions of dollars coming into the league, well, it's going to be harder to argue, well, we still need to keep things down. Can't do that anymore. That's off the table now. So 27, the players need to fight to grow this league, to grow the exposure, to bring more sponsors in, to bring more money in, and then in 27, they need to cash in. Or at the end of 27, they need to cash in for the next CBA. That's where it's big for me.
Now, and you talk about bonuses, 401ks, those are going to be the same. And the proportionality of the salary increase goes with the incremental media revenue increase. So you look at 12.5% in 23 and 24. Then you get the 25% bump, 25, 26, 27.
See, this is something that I think the players messed up on. They wanted a bigger cut of the media rights. I think when we first started talking about all this, the expectation was the media rights are going to be bigger. This next deal is going to be a lot bigger, a whole lot bigger. I don't think it's going to be a whole lot bigger. And we didn't know that last February. Yeah. I think it was still a guess, but we didn't know that. Now I don't think it is. Because, look, Germany's deal went down 10% domestically. Italy is trying to get more money. Right now, they've only got less on the table. They're shooting for an 18% increase from where they are. That's their target, which would mean they're trying to get their minimum target to $1.38 billion for their domestic TV. They got $1.02 billion on the table right now from DAZN. And that's for everything in Italy. That's bumping Sky off. That Sky would only have Champions League stuff. Now, it looks like Serie A is going to try to argue this or give DAZN less than the full package, still take a good bit of money, try to get something to Sky, flip it from where Sky is broadcasting most to DAZN broadcasting most, but Sky still has something. See if they can pull it off. I don't think they get their 18% increase at all.
Yeah.
Germany didn't get an increase. Others are looking, France, we know how that one blew up in their face. They got a decrease from what they signed that was supposed to start the season with. Right. I don't see a massive increase. Could we see an increase in the rights for MLS? Yeah, because they're small.
Yeah.
Could we see an increase with an additional package that goes to an Amazon, that goes to a streaming service? Yeah, we could. Could we see a weird effect with the Premier League negotiations? Yeah. If NBC loses those, I think they become a player for MLS.
Yes.
They need the room. They're going to need something to put on their networks. They're going to need something to sell Peacock with, and it would work. But would they be able to bump off an ESPN, who is, by all accounts, hot and heavy for the Premier League rights? I don't know. They're going to be able to bump off a Fox.
Or a CBS.
Well, CBS, yes, they'd have to come in the door and come in with an offer. Are they going to? We don't know. There's some unknowns in it. I think the Premier League rights could open up some doors for MLS to at least have new partners come in. I don't think it's going to be a dramatic increase. So that the focus for the player side and in the narratives about this was, got to get more money on the media. Got to get more money on the media. Yeah, you do, because it's a bigger chunk of money. But I don't think it's going to be that big. I think the negotiating point should have been, you want additional years? Cool. You're going to have to pay for them. Because we are, again, I think they're better off to negotiate after the World Cup. But anyway, the thought has been they weren't. Okay, use that. Look, we're giving you through the World Cup. You can make your money through the World Cup. That's great. you got to pay us a little bit more there. The TV rights aren't going to be what we all thought they would be. It's not going to be it's not going to double. It's not going to triple. I don't think. I think if it goes up a little bit, that's great. If it goes up from $90 million a year across all the partners domestically, this isn't including international stuff. If it goes up to $150, I think MLS has done a good job. I don't think it goes up over $200. I'd love for it to. I don't think it does. I just don't know if it's there right now. I mean, we saw the Super Bowl rating down. The streaming numbers up, but the overall rating down. Everything's been down this year, except for really MLS. It's been pretty flat because it's a small number to begin with. MLS is going to have a hard time in the market on these TV rights. Getting a cut of them is good for the players, but making that the big point to get a bigger cut, I don't know if that bet's going to pay off as much.
Well, and just to do some basic math, let's just say that in the latter years of the CBA agreement, it's at that $90 million number. That's $22.5 million at 25%. If it goes up to that 150, that's $37.5 million. That's an increase of $15 million. That's it. This is not a baseball deal. This is not an NFL deal. This is not a large contract like the NBA. That is over a $60 million jump. It's a $15 million increase. That's what you're talking about here. And the fact that you thought that was a direction you needed to go, that looks like...
I mean, if you could have gotten $1 million more in team available spend in each of the additional years that were added, if you'd bumped those $1 million more than what you're getting, that's $27 to $30 million more.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's $1 million more per team. Now, all of them's got to spend it, of course. So it goes into the cap. The players are going to make more. Yeah, not everybody's going to spend the absolute max. But if you have that availability, you're going to make more that way over the additional years than you will through this side. In my opinion, we'll have to see. I don't know how that's going to work out because I think the scary scenario is, okay, let's flip it. NBC loses the Premier League. They're shutting down NBCSN. Is MLS going to drive subscribers to Peacock? Not like the Premier League did. Mm-hmm. Are they going to say, you know what, we don't want to put MLS on USA and on NBC. We're out. We're going to sit it out. That hurts you. If CBS says, we're going to try to get the Premier League, they don't get it. They already got the Champions League. Now, do they want to look at MLS to boost CBS Sports Network? Maybe. Because that's a different conversation. MLS is a lot better than rodeo reruns from 3 years ago.
You ain't kidding.
Okay. Is that good for the league? Maybe, maybe not. If you get the CBS games, okay. But is CBS going to try to come in and bump ESPN from the MLS Live package on ESPN Plus, all of that? I don't know. It could go different directions. It could, if the Premier League moves, it could open up doors. It could shut doors. The Amazon idea might not come off. Hulu or Netflix getting into it. They might not come off. They might say, you know what, we don't think MLS is going to be a big enough property for us here. We're going to stay out of it. And then you might have to settle for what you have. And ESPN and Fox and 2DayNA have been great partners. But are they going to bump up huge amounts of money? I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
I don't think so. Perfect Tommy says, and it is a point, CBS is going to be in a different position with no SEC football coming up. But is MLS the replacement for that? I don't think it is in their mind. I'd love for it to be. I'd love for a Saturday afternoon game in the fall and all year to be the game of the week.
Yeah.
Would love that from CBS. I don't know if they see it that way. The numbers won't be the same. The ratings will not be the same. Can they be bigger than they've been? Yeah. If you get a regular game of the week on over-the-air television in this country, MLS will see its best ratings. It's the consistency. But I don't think it's a like for like. I think CBS will go after another college football package. They'll go after something else that's more like for like. Don't know. Domer wants Gary Danielson to start calling MLS.
Oh, God.
That'd be amazing. If we could get Vern back to call MLS, that'd be all.
See now, if Uncle Vern called MLS, that'd be great.
All in.
But then you'd have. Let's see. So if Gary Danielson is attached to the University of Alabama, according to the fans that watch the SEC on CBS, who would he attach himself to as your lead color analyst for MLS?
LAFC.
Okay.
I think it'd be LAFC. Could Gary Danielson go Hollywood?
That Carlos Vela.
No, don't do
Yeah,
that.
I could see Danielson wearing the sunglasses, the no tie, popped collar, those kinds of things. Kind of going through and stylishly walking through, either that or a jean jacket with a popped collar, one of the two.
Okay.
Taka with a couple of points on
Let's go.
The TV deals. He
What
says,
we got?
arguably...
Let me get the black helicopter music ready. I'm just kidding, Tafka. Maybe.
Arguably, the TV deals in Europe were a bit overinflated, in his opinion. His main concern is, what is the future of television in general? Broadcast is slowly dying. Catalog and live streaming is surging. How that plays out for an MLS TV deal, I have no idea. Second point.
It's very slowly dying. I think the dying speed has been overhyped a little bit worldwide and in this country too. But it is changing. Like every big event, you're going to see streaming numbers are up 65% from last year. Well, yeah, that's going to happen for a while.
When you have 10 people streaming and then you have 16 and a half people, yeah, it's up 65%.
That's going to happen for a while, and the other numbers are going to erode for a while. But there's still huge cachet in being on broadcast television. There's still huge cachet in being on cable television versus being on all streaming. I think who comes in on the TV rights is very important, and it's still, it might even outweigh crazy money from somebody. Look, we're crazy. If Amazon said, we believe in this, we are all in, and you're getting $90 million a year right now spread across 3 different areas, you know what? We're going to give you $500 million a year, and we want it all. We want all of it. We want all the games to go on Amazon Prime. Is that worth it to MLS? Because then you are no longer on TV. You're no longer talked about on ESPN, which might not be a bad thing sometimes. Sometimes it's good. It would get weird. It would get weird. And you got to remember, this is going to be bundled, too, with World Cup, with U.S. men's national team, with U.S. women's national team, all this stuff. It's going to be really interesting. Like, yes, money is going towards streaming. But do you want to be the first major league, and yes, MLS is in this conversation, to go all streaming? Because that's the exclusivity is where the money would be. Like Amazon coming in to get a Thursday game of the week. I mean, it might be a little bit of decent cash, but it's not going to change who you are. Going, up 4 or 5 times for everything to go to streaming could. I don't know if Amazon would even throw that kind of money at it. I'm just saying, like something like that would be different. Now, while Chara says Flow Sports in DC showed it was a mistake, I don't think that's fair because I'm not talking about a new company or a smaller company doing the streaming. If you're going to do it, it would have to be an Amazon, a Hulu, a Netflix, or an ESPN Plus or a Paramount Plus or any of these. It'd have to be something like that is established and can handle it. You can't go in the Flow Sports thing because they couldn't even get the local broadcasts on a regular basis. You'd have to go with somebody established. So their issues were more in that vein. But you did hear people say, like, look, I'm not going to subscribe to that. If it's Amazon, a lot of us already have a subscription to Amazon Prime.
Yep.
I mean, is it going to sell more? Amazon's not really looking at it that way. They just want everything.
Yeah.
They want you to be hanging out watching a game, and they want to be able to sell you some socks. I mean, that's what they're looking for. It's a new world. Is it going to be that new of a world at the end of the 22 season? I don't know. It's way too early to call.
And I mean, think about, and for those of us of a certain age, we remember when the National Hockey League signed their deal with Sports Channel America. And it was an absolute disaster because Sports Channel America was not in the same number of homes that the previous broadcast partners were, USA, ESPN, what have you. National Hockey League took the money from Sports Channel America. They were in, I want to say, like 1/3 of the homes. And it took the National Hockey League, and a lot of folks may still sit there and say it's still taking the National Hockey League, all of this time to be recognized and found on cable platforms. Just because what they did, they took the money for a smaller, from a smaller provider, went that direction, took the cash, and it eroded what folks were doing with their viewing habits, and it took a while for folks to find the National Hockey League all over again through the end of another media deal.
Johanna says, for me, the biggest thing would be getting rid of the geo-blocking. If you're going to go the route of streaming, all games need to be available without local blackouts. I think if somebody came in and bought it all, yeah, I think that would be the case. I think you'd probably have a situation where, as Amazon has done with other properties, like you'd have, let's say it's Atlanta, Seattle playing, you'd have the option to hear an Atlanta broadcast, a Seattle broadcast, an Atlanta Spanish broadcast, a Seattle Spanish broadcast. You'd be able to pick your audio stream, and you'd be able to pick which one you want, and then it wouldn't be geo-blocked. The MLS Live portion, I mean, it's still the old school mentality of the out-of-market package, where, it's you do it for... I'm trying to think. Like, I believe the NBA League Pass is the same thing. If you have it here, you can't watch the Hawks on it. They're going to make you go to Fox Sports South or Fox Sports Southeast. I assume the MLB Extra Innings package is the same thing. They're going to make you go to the local broadcaster to watch the local broadcast, but you can watch the other games out of market. If it's not an out-of-market package, and it is this is our package, then yeah, there wouldn't be any point to geo-blocking it because it wouldn't be locally, unless then they sub-licensed things out, which would be the question. If Amazon, and we're getting deep into a hypothetical situation here, I don't even know if Amazon would be interested. But if they did it and then they said, you know what, we're going to sub-license out local broadcasts to the Bally's regionals, whoever else regionally that we want to, a local TV, whatever, then would they geo-block locally from their own thing, or would they leave it available? That would probably be down to the contract and the sub-license. Because if I am, let's say, the local UPN affiliate, if I'm the local UPN affiliate and I say, you know what, we will pay you, Amazon, to have these games on our TV locally. But yeah, we don't want people watching on Amazon locally. We want to be able to have it exclusively. It's all tricky, and it's all going to be different. And I think you're going to see some different kinds of offers this time. So we will see. They can negotiate a league-wide deal. It's at the end of 22, Thomas Jewin. It's not at the end of 21. It's at the end of the 22 season that I believe everybody has went along with it. There are no local TV deals in place past that because they could put it all together. They could also sub-license things out. There might not be somebody who comes in all together, but they're going to have options to do that going beyond. Options are different. Go ahead from Tafka, sorry.
Tafka's second point, should MLS look to make their TV deal a short one, say 4 years instead of 8 or 10?
Depends on the deals. I would like to, again, because you're betting on the World Cup changing the game for you after 26. So I would probably want to do it through that 26 season. Are you going to get a TV partner to come in with the kind of money you want for a 4 or 5 year deal? Maybe not. I'm assuming in the TV business, they will pay more if they have more of a run with it and they can do more with it.
Right.
If they get 10 years, then okay, they'll give you a lot of money to do it. If you're only going to get 5, they're going to say, well, we would have given you $500 million with 10 years, but we're only going to give you $300 million for 5 years. Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of different. It could look very different at the end of 22 in terms of MLS broadcast. It could look very, very different. I think it's going to be an interesting decision for the league because how new world do you want to go with it? Is it? I mean, that's a full 2 years away. We didn't foresee the amount of work for home this year. I'm assuming that will continue in a lot of places, not all, but in some. We didn't foresee a lot of things that have changed because of the pandemic. Are TV viewing habits going to change even more dramatically in the next 2 years? They could. They might not. Is the value of being on broadcast or cable TV still strong, or has it weakened? Is somebody going to come in with the amount of money to make that worthwhile to go all in on that? I don't know. It's really hard to call because of the effects of the pandemic and just predicting how fast these things change in terms of the TV business. I don't know.
Drew Gano says moving totally away from linear TV would take you out of the sports conversation. So all the people that don't normally follow soccer, for a league that's trying to get non-soccer followers' attention, that makes no sense.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think Drew nails it in a very important way. The growth opportunity for MLS in this country is not as much with soccer fans, because you've got soccer fans who don't follow MLS and they've already made up their mind. And you'll have a conversation with one and they'll tell you it's a retirement league. Well, MLS has an average age 2 years younger than La Liga, than Liga. It's younger than the Premier League. It's a retirement league. Did you hear what I just said? It's a retirement league. They signed David Beckham. That was 14 years ago, man. What are you talking about? You're not getting anywhere there. People who are newer to this country, first or second generation, and their allegiances lie with Club America or Monterrey or Chivas or River Plate. Are you going to win them over? Over time, you can. You might win over their next generation, but are you gonna change more soccer fans to become MLS fans in this country? Or is the bigger growth opportunity in converting sports fans to MLS fans? And I think if you've paid attention to the Atlanta United fan base and looked around the bends on a game day, that's where the growth potential is in my mind. So, do you want to go into a direction that would probably limit the sports fans' of interest in trying it out, in getting hooked? Don't know. The money would have to be worth it, and then you would have to find ways to bridge that gap. That's a really important point from Drew, and it's something that I think we can easily lose in our soccer bubble. I don't think you're converting the retirement league people. I don't think you're converting the hardcore Liga MX fans. I don't think you're converting the people who get up and watch the Premier League but won't watch their local MLS team. I don't think you're converting them easily. I think you're converting the fan who enjoys going out to an event and has decided to give it a try, and they enjoyed the experience. Those are the ones you're going to convert much more easily. So you need to be careful with that. And the Premier League is having this conversation in this country. More games going to Peacock. The Premier League does not seem to be all that thrilled with that. So you want the exposure, because that exposure, that mainstream exposure, is really, really careful. It's really, really important, and you got to be careful not to lose it. So you do need money, but you got to balance it. Even Serie A, the conversation we talked about earlier with where they are, you would be going from Sky to DAZN, which is all streaming. You would be going from a pay TV network in Sky to that. Is that worth it? Sky puts games on its various platforms right now. DAZN would all be streaming. Is that worth it to them? They've got to make that decision. So Serie A clubs are going to meet on February 8th. I'll be very curious to see where that goes. Might not just be down to the amount of money that's offered. And that would probably be part of the conversation here, is streaming's going to have to overpay what TV is paying to get it is it worth what they would be willing to pay because you'd be losing the mainstream attention? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It'd be a risk. I do know that much.
Yes. And, to your point, it's about finding the casual fan and keeping the casual fan. The soccer fan is already there under the tent. The idea to bring in that casual fan, the one that sits there and sees, hey, everybody's checking the local team out.
Hold on. I do think it's a really important thing. Not all soccer fans are under the tent. They're not. You know this. Everybody knows this. There's plenty of soccer fans who are like, no, we don't follow MLS. There are plenty of people involved in soccer in these different cities, and they don't care about their local team. Atlanta, look, we're lucky here in that the club has done a good job on the outreach. The club has done a good job on making it a big deal. Local media has bought in to make it a big deal in a sports sense, not just a soccer sense. Other places don't have that. Seattle doesn't have that. Seattle has a huge soccer community. Portland has a huge soccer community, but they don't get the mainstream coverage that Atlanta gets. Do they need it? Seattle's done pretty well for themselves. Portland has a smaller stadium, it's a smaller market. But there's others who don't get that. I don't think MLS has got the soccer fan under the tent. I think there are soccer fans who are not going to give MLS the time of day for whatever reason. Those are the harder ones to convince. It's not that they're already in. It's that some of them have chosen not to be. And they're not going to listen to your argument to come under the tent. They're going to say, no, I'm good. I'm going to sit over here and do what I do with soccer. And it's a retirement league, or I follow another team, more importantly. Right. They've already made up their mind. But MLS, and I think American soccer in general, gets into that idea of, we've got to get them, we've got to get them, we've got to get them. I don't think you can do that. I think you can make faster growth with the general sports fans. And Atlanta is the prime example of that.
Yeah. Would you rather get a larger percentage of folks that you can bring in?
No, it's a larger group. It's not even about the percentage. Like, are there more NFL fans than soccer fans in this country?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just period. Like, we get really worked up about the biggest TV rating was Liga MX last season. 20 of the 25 most watched games were Liga MX. What was the audience? 3-4 million?
Yeah.
What's the audience for an average NFL game on TV? Average.
4 or 5 times that.
Average game. CBS. For the Super Bowl. What was the linear TV number?
What was it? I know it was lower.
90?
Yeah.
90-something?
Yeah.
The Liga MX final, a World Cup final, all these things. It's not anywhere near that in this country. It's never been anywhere close. So are you going to get all of the NFL fans? No, you're not. But where's the growth potential? Getting the 3 to 4 million Liga MX fans, and out of that group, however many are like, no, I don't watch MLS. No, I won't watch it. I don't like it. I don't think it's very good. Well, look, we just signed these players from that league. We just signed these other players. The quality's grown. Give it a shot. No, I don't like it. Are you going to get an extra few thousand out of that? Or do you have the potential to go to that mainstream audience that's watching the Super Bowl? Because we know there's a lot of people. I don't watch a ton of NFL games anymore. Not like I used to. I watch the Super Bowl. That's a bigger audience. And there's a lot of casual fans who, you give them a good experience. You get them into the stadium. They enjoy it. They get hooked. Then they want to watch. Then they want to listen. Then they're all in. That's where the growth is. A lot of soccer people point to the Liga MX TV ratings or the Premier League TV ratings and see? I mean, they're drawing a few million more in some cases than MLS is. They're not anywhere near your NFL ratings. That's the growth potential because we've seen it in the city. Is the season ticket numbers for Falcons, is there a ton of overlap with Atlanta United? All the numbers have said no. But I can tell you personally from my interactions at 92.9, there are a lot of people who listen to games who were never in the soccer tent before. There are a lot of people who come to Atlanta United games, maybe not season ticket holders, especially when you open up the full venue, who had nothing to do with that soccer tent before. You're going to grow more if you're in their world than you will if you go doubling down on converting soccer fans who have already told you no. The growth is the other way. And MLS needs to realize that. And American soccer needs to realize that, because we're in a different place than we were years ago. Kids have grown up with soccer. Like, I had to learn about it as a kid. And I'm old. Like, kids today, you've got the FIFA games. You've got games on all the time. It's there. It's part of your life. It's not just my parents signed me up for soccer at the YMCA. It's Neymar's awesome. Messi's really cool. It's that kind of stuff. Like, it's there. So go convert them and their parents who are going to come to your stadium and spend money and then get hooked and want to watch the next game when the team's on the road. That's the growth opportunity. That's it. The 3 to 4% is what Ricky Ricardo said in terms of crossover between season ticket holders. That's about what I've heard generally. That's season ticket holders. That's the most bought in. All right, what about the people who go when maybe a few years ago they would have went to Turner Field to watch the Braves? They're in town. Hey, it's a Saturday night. The Braves are in town. I can get a cheap ticket. Cool, I'm going to go to the Braves game. What have they started to do? Full stadium for Atlanta United? Hey, I'm going to go to the Atlanta United game. It's fun. I'm going to go. You want to convert them, and you want to get them watching on TV. That's the next step. But the growth opportunity is the general sports person, is just the general person in this country. It's not the soccer fans who've already told you no. Because some of them have already made up their mind.
Yeah. I've had folks who have come up to me because of knowing what we do at the show and everything else that we do involved with the sport. And they said, yeah, man, I went to the Atlanta United game. And these aren't, these are like casual sports fans. And they said, yeah, I went to the Atlanta United game and it was a great experience. And, and Atlanta United won and all these kinds of things. Those folks are the ones that you can make the biggest inroad with and get them hooked, to get them to come back, to keep them engaged. And once again, it just rolls over with that particular individual and folks like that.
You need to get people hooked. You need to get them to experience it, because that's your biggest selling thing. The NFL can sell itself by being on TV and being the behemoth. And Byrne points out the NFL is a different animal. Liga MX TV audience is very good compared to NBA, baseball, and hockey. And Sports Business Journal said this. I think comparing a Liga MX final or massive game to an average NBA baseball or hockey game is not really an apples-to-apples comparison, but okay. Because the NBA Finals, World Series, go clicky-clack. World Series rating last year. I think it's a lot more than the Liga MX final. Is it 90 million like the NFL Super Bowl? No, it's not. But the TV ratings for those, for a final versus a final, I think it's a big gap. All of them are bigger than MLS, so all of them are a source for growth. But you're looking to grow. You're looking to tap into a market that you don't have right now. What is it?
2020 World Series had a record-setting low of 9.75 million viewers, down 1/3 from the previous year's World Series.
Yeah, that's still 3 times. And that's average over the amount of games, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a low. Again, most ratings are down. That's where I wonder what the MLS numbers are going to be. It's all tough. But I really fight hard about, sometimes we look very insular in the soccer world about we've got to grow to the people who are in the game but not in with MLS. If they're in the game, they know. It's not like MLS is unknown to a soccer club or a soccer playing family in Atlanta. If there are people who have chosen not to engage, that's their choice. You've got to then convince them that their choice is wrong. But if you go to an NBA watching family or a Falcons watching family and you get them to come to a game and they enjoy it, and I think you did with Braves fans who didn't want to go to Cobb and started to go to games in 2017. Look, the timing was perfect. You got people hooked. I know people who were casual soccer fans. They'd watch a World Cup, big deal. They'd get into that. Okay, cool. When you had a team in town and the Braves moved, because their casual thing, they weren't like they weren't going through the Braves lineup and saying we need to get rid of this guy and to go sign this guy. They weren't hardcore. But on a Saturday night, it's a nice night. The weather's good. I'm going to go out and have a couple beers and go to the game. It's a cool experience. They started going to Atlanta United games instead, and some of them got hooked and then bought season tickets and then started listening to games and started watching games. That's where the growth is. It is. I don't think it's in that Liga MX audience that's not already engaging with you. I don't think it's in the Premier League audience that's not already engaging with you. Can you improve on your outreach to them? Absolutely. But your real growth is being in the face of sports fans with disposable income who are going out to events because, and yes, I'm biased, but I would much rather go to an MLS match than a Major League Baseball game. I would. I'm going to get bored at a baseball game. I'm going to get bored at an NFL game because it's going to take 5 hours.
Yes.
Hockey, great experience. And that hooked me on hockey when I was going to Thrashers games until they lost the whole season and I never came back. NBA, I love the in-arena experience. I like the NBA. I mean, I like basketball. So, cool. I'm all good. But hockey, I was that for hockey. Went to a couple games. I was like, this is a blast. This is fun. I want to go, and I want to watch games, and I want to listen to games, and now I'm bought in until they lost me. That's where you can grow. Anyway, we went really big picture on all that. I didn't expect it, but that's cool. I mean, I think that's where MLS can grow the most, and we'll see what strategy they take because this next TV deal is very important, and the players have made it very important in their negotiations on the CBA as well.
We've got a lot of folks who are still jumping in and commenting on the discussion we've been having. Rich Ransom and Tofka are in the timeline. But I guess since we're at the top of the hour, you want me to talk about something, don't you?
Oh, well, maybe I don't.
Well, maybe you don't. What do you want me to do first?
Why don't you tell us about our good friend, Steve Apolinsky in Decatur, GA?
Apolinsky and Associates, proud supporters of everything soccer down here and the SDH network. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, there's only one line of communication that you need to make. A couple different forms that it can take. Was a poet, didn't know it. You can give them a call, 404-377-9191, and get a free consultation. You can shoot Steve an email directly, steve@aa-legal.com, or you can go on the World Wide Web. Large device or small, you type in aa-legal.com, you hit the enter key, the return key, the arrow key, whatever advances you to the homepage of Apolinsky and Associates, LLC. You see all the questions, all the different topics that you could have questions for. You can get them answered with a pop-up window, because that's what pop-up windows do. The person behind that pop-up window can help answer those questions that you may still have by looking at the homepage for Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, and that pop-up window is available 24/7, 365 and a quarter. Recognized as legal by Georgia Trend Magazine for being one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in Georgia and Alabama. For wrongful death and serious injury matters, there's only one place that you need to go to get your questions answered. It is Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, and the website is aa-legal.com.
Why don't you just let it stand? Because you actually were not too fast.
I'm waiting for that one riff in the.
You don't even know where the riff is.
It's a stanza change. It's like
just
let
it go. If you're in a concert and maybe you're off just a little bit, you let it go. You've seen that thing you do, right?
Yes, I have.
Drummer comes in, he speeds the song up. Did they all like stop? The old drummer's yelling too fast. He's the old drummer. He didn't even make it to when the band got on CBS television, did he? The rest of them went along with the ride.
Mm-hmm.
You need to go along with the ride.
Breaking news sounder, please.
Oh, jeez. trying to change the subject. Breaking news from John Nelson.
Or Christian Dyer, per multiple sources to Christian Dyer, he's hearing that the Vancouver Whitecaps are planning to start the 2021 MLS regular season based out of RSL.
Okay. We knew it was coming. I mean, it can't be based in Canada. The only question was, would the league do the thing where they have the Canadian teams play one another for a month to buy some time? I don't know if it would have bought enough time. So start for an open-ended amount of time. I mean, if you can get back into the Canadian markets in August, all right. It sucks. It's not good. It's not at all what's good for these clubs or for the league or for the game, but what's better? You know, these teams going on hiatus and these players having to find somewhere to play for a year? No, it's not. So this is about it. You know, where does Toronto and Montreal end up now? We'll just have to wait and see. Does Toronto go down and hang out with the Raptors in Tampa?
Or do they go back and become Hartford FC again this season?
They could. Hartford's sitting there waiting for them, so we'll keep you posted. But knew something like that was coming. Did not see Vancouver in RSL. Thought they might go a little bit closer, but I guess it doesn't really matter if you're going to be there for potentially 6 months.
Yeah. And you could play, and RSL could play in Rio Tinto, and the Whitecaps could play in Harriman. So, I mean, there's...
Why are you throwing them to Harriman?
I don't know. I'm operating under the premise that there won't be fans to start the season out. And so a venue being a venue, you have a place to play.
Yes.
You're not torching the grass. It's,
but Utah actually had fans last year, so I don't know if that's changed. That's the other thing is like, you know, I think we will have fans in some markets at the very beginning because, I mean, we saw it. The crowd was in Tampa.
Yes.
There were some really good cardboard cutouts that had people fooled, had me fooled at the beginning. You saw some better shots in the crowd. I still wonder if it was more than 25,000. I'm thinking maybe it was. But you're going to have people in the stands in some places. Utah had people at the end of last season. So do they go backwards? They could. They really could. We don't know. Who knows? But anyway, Vancouver is going to be in Utah. We got to get to scores because people had some interesting things here. I bet
they did.
I got bumped and nobody had said anything, or at least I missed it. Your volume is a little bit lower than normal, so I got a 4 out of 10.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, Jason Nix. I did not realize that it was that low. It's a weird thing with John sometimes. Like it gets this interference, so it's like I got to find the right level for him to where you're not hearing like a whining noise in the background.
Hurts hum in the background.
Yeah, so it's finding the balance, and sometimes the balance gets out of whack because every board has its own kind of mind at times, and it's like I'm constantly going up and down with it. So I'd brought it down because of the hum. I think we're good on the hum now, and I've boosted him up just a little bit.
Okay,
Speak,
what are
John.
the others?
Yeah, you're okay.
What are the other scores?
Let's see what we got here. -5, you forgot the LLC. Not sure if it's +1 or -1 for you not mentioning the possibility that Mateo is behind the pop-up. 8.2. You had your Thorazine this morning.
That's up to Mateo to announce Mateo confession.
Well, you've used it before. 8.5. You didn't have to take a breath. -5. -2. Worst performance.
That's a 1.
1.7890. You got some bonuses somewhere in there.
Okay. Technical merit.
8.57. You had a 9.9 until you did the too fast thing, and you got a 2. Trying to make the point to you. Stop doing that. 7. Gonna get a solid 8.
I'm highly self-critical. That's why I do it.
Well, don't do it in the midst of the read. Talk about it after, like when we're talking about this. Like now, yeah, I was a little fast. Blah blah blah. It's not going to affect your score. 4.7. You second guessed yourself. Muddled phrasing.
Muddled phrasing.
Need more coffee out of 10.
I don't do coffee, so different caffeinated beverage, please.
Mm-hmm. You need that watermelon Mountain Dew. That's what you need.
Oh, by the way, I'm still sticking to my thought from the end of yesterday's show.
Which was?
Since I have to go out for day number 3 to go get my tag.
What?
We'll get to that in a second. When I'm out in civilization on the way back home, exactly, I am going to stop at a convenience store, get that watermelon-based Mountain Dew, drink it on the air tomorrow on Wall Pass Wednesday to give you my review, my spot review for breaking news on that visual abomination of Mountain Dew.
Aww.
It's a visual abomination. It's sacrilege. So we'll see if
it's pink?
It's... ever since the original, they have... No. All the blasts, the purple, the green, the Baja green, the Vicks Formula 44 M red, and now this watermelon thing. No. So we'll see if the no continues tomorrow.
We're going to shut that down. All right? We're going to stop it there. You're getting worked up about a tag office. You're getting worked up about Mountain Dew abominations. We're going to leave it. All right? We're going to reboot John. Can we do that?
Well, if the...
I'll shut you down again. What?
Yesterday I go, then they said, you need to have an emissions and your car insurance fixed.
Yeah, you have to have
and
the
I'm
emissions
thinking to
before you
myself,
do that.
this is an uncar. This is not Georgia property yet. So how can I have, an emissions for a car that doesn't exist in the state of Georgia?
Because you go get an emissions done.
Got that done. And now I'm still waiting for my insurance. My insurance has been adjusted, but apparently that paperwork has not been sent to the state of Georgia. And so now I have to get some kind of official email saying, yes, my insurance has been adjusted. So that's what I'm fighting as we approach day 3 of dealing with getting a tag for the new car.
Are you done?
Yes, I want to get back to what Tafka and Rich Ransom were talking about with our TV deals.
Thank you. What do they have?
Taka says, old hat soccer fans, they're a lost cause. Non-soccer sports fans turning to soccer, more likely, but still not entirely likely. It's an age demographic focus. Get the kids, all of the kids, if they play soccer, they need to be watching MLS. To clarify, his experience with the average sports fan is that they are the soccer's not a real sport camp that we 1980s babies grew up with as friends. How many average sports fans are genuinely open to going hardcore fans with soccer seems limited unless they have kids.
Well, the kids thing does factor in, but I'll disagree. Based off experience here in Atlanta, look, it's all anecdotal, but I think your 50-year-old plus, they're set in their ways. They're probably not going to give it much of a chance. But your people who have grown up watching World Cups and grown up with soccer around, and your people younger than us, they're going to give it a shot. I think that attitude's changing because the soccer's not a real sport crowd is probably average age of about 63 and a half. And, some of them still have influence, and some of them are still editors for different places that make editorial decisions that are wrong. But you don't worry about them either. I think you don't want to lose soccer fans by trying to appeal to non-sports fans, of course. The kids, yes, I'm with you. It's the biggest thing. Because if people have grown up playing a sport, they're far more likely to watch a sport. Every study will tell you that. But, I think there are a lot of people who are not with kids, who are young adults, who have grown up around soccer more, and maybe they didn't play, but they're far more likely to give it a chance now than they would have been 20 years ago. So, anyway, trying to get people who are not fans, it's all a sliding scale of which one's easier. There's just more of them who are not fans than who are fans currently. There's a larger number over there. So even if you have the same percentage of success, well, it's a whole lot more people. And I think Atlanta's crowds have shown that because it's not all hardcore soccer fans when the stadium's full with 72,000. It's not. So the kids is an obvious one. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Tafka, on that. But I think people are more willing now than they used to be, unless they're older and set in their ways. And if they are, then there's nothing I can do. and you just move on. But I think there's also a lot of soccer people who are set in their ways, and there's only so much you can do with them too. Anyway.
And he says, I don't think you can hook average sports fans with just TV. That's his predicament in South Carolina.
No, absolutely not. You've got to have the local experience. And that's something I kept saying, and I maybe didn't stress it enough. You're not going to get, because I was the same way with hockey. Look, I was not going to, before I went to a Thrashers game, I wasn't going to watch a game on TV because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the strategy of it. You know, not even the rules. Like, I got to know what they're trying to accomplish. I got to know, like, why'd they make that line change there? Why'd they do this? Why did they try to attack that way? I want to know those things. I had no idea. So I was like, all right, I can't get into this. I don't know the storylines. You go to a game and get hooked. So it's obviously going to be harder in South Carolina to hook people on Atlanta United. They've got to go to a game. And it's going to be harder if you're in South Carolina because it's a longer trip. You've got to, then it's the local team. And it's getting hooked on a local way. But you got to go to the game. I think that's it for any of these. Maybe NFL is the one that isn't as big of a deal there because it's so ingrained in the culture. I think for soccer, if you're going to convert a new fan, they got to go to a game and experience it. That's why the in-stadium experience is so important. And that's why when it's bad in some markets, it hurts you. I think in Columbus, it hurt them for a while because the in-stadium experience was bad.
Chicago at Bridgeview.
Well, it was empty. Like in Columbus, even when there were some people in there, it was bad because you just had you had supporters in the hardcore supporters area who were like, oh, you're not a fan of this or that or whatever? Well, then you're not cool. And you get some of that. Atlanta hasn't had that. Do you have supporters in any group who have that tendency? Sure. But in general, Atlanta supporters groups were wanting to go out and grow it and bring new people into the tent. And they've done a really good job of it. And it's been far more opening and welcoming. And that's really important. That's where some of the hardcore soccer fans do need to understand, look, you have an obligation. I've always felt that way. Soccer's given me everything in my life that I enjoy today. You know, friends, a job, enjoyment, just watching games, all of it. So I feel like I have an obligation to give back and to grow it. And that's why I try to do that. And I love talking to new fans. I love talking to people who don't understand the offside rule and want to know more. I love talking to fans who don't understand why you don't play with 4 up top or 3 up top and why you have 1 striker instead. And I love having those conversations. That's how it grows. And I think in other markets, you need soccer people to do that more. So there's so many different aspects, and every market's different. Every situation's different. You need teams in different places. You need the live experience. You need the mainstream media. You need a lot of things to grow it. It's growing steadily. It's in a far better place than it was 10 years ago. Far, far better place. And then it was in a far better place than it was 10 years before that. I want the next 10 years to be faster. The World Cup will help. But I want it to be faster. I want the rocket ship. We haven't had that yet outside of 94 giving us a league. I want the rocket ship. And I think we can get there. And I think Atlanta shows you ways to speed it up. And I hope that Austin, St. Louis, Sacramento, Charlotte especially, Nashville, continues to show that rocket ship is ready to go. I really hope this stuff happens.
Antinio says that you were talking to him during this segment. He says he went to his first Atlanta United game soccer match for the last home match against Toronto. Less than 4 years later, he's hitting translate on South American bombas tweets.
I love that. See, that's the stuff that I love because when I got into hockey like that, and when I got into the Thrashers, I remember when I was like, man, I'm really bought into this right now. I was on my lunch break going to buy the hockey news and reading about the Thrashers affiliates and who could be coming up and who could replace this guy or who could do that. I was like, okay, now I'm pretty hooked. That's what the soccer world can be because there's always something in another country and there's always a link. So it's just never ending. You can go deep into it and not come out of it at times. And you can watch games in 3-4 different languages in a day and enjoy it. That's what's exciting about it to me. I learn more about the world from the game. So I love it. I want more people like Antino. I want more people who buy in and fall in love with it and then pass it on.
Rich Ransom says, I want the soccer fan more than the casual fan, though. They ask too many questions, not watch the game, and will stop supporting when the team's performance drops. And he says, gatekeeping, I know.
That's absolutely gatekeeping, Rich, because what you got to do is convert them to where they're not going to walk away when the team's bad. Trust me, Rich, I've seen soccer people be the worst about being fair weather fans because a lot of them have an allegiance somewhere else. If they're a hardcore, well, maybe not right now, sorry, Liverpool fans, but if they're a hardcore Liverpool fan and they like their local team, if the local team's not playing, well, I'm not going to go. I can watch Liverpool in the morning. I'm good. And that happens too. So I think that's universal. Yeah, they ask questions. Answer them. Because, look, if you want the Philadelphia Union to grow, if you want the Union to pack out the downtown stadium from time to time and have games over there, you got to grow it. You got to grow it. You got to be willing to do it. I mean, it's on us who are crazy enough to be advocates for the game to grow it. It's not on us to close the door and say, oh, you were not there when Lionel Messi did this in 2010. Well, then I don't think you should be here. No. I want to do that. I want to get them bought in. Like, of course, I want to get them to pay attention to the game and all that. And I'll sit and talk to them after the game about everything. I love it. I love that stuff. I loved during the previous World Cups in 10 and 14. We did viewing parties with soccer in the streets at a bar in Virginia Highland called Diesel, which was not a soccer bar. And I loved that we would get people who then became Atlanta United season ticket holders. One of the most exciting days for me with all of that was the Belgium game, where it was like if I remember right, like a 3:30 kick or maybe a 4 o'clock kick, something like that. And the bar usually wasn't open until 4 o'clock, and they were going to open early. There were people in the parking lot tailgating before the place opened to get in for a soccer game on a weekday afternoon. That was nuts. And these were not hardcore soccer fans who were doing it. And I was like, okay, cool. We've got something here. You got to be willing to do that and grow it. Put your arm around a new fan and say, hey, glad you're here. Is there something you need to know? Do you have a question? Cool. The gatekeeping thing is not going to grow the game. It's just not. There's so many different wormholes we can go down in the game. You know, if you enjoy it at a smaller level, if you enjoy the grassroots, love it. But don't talk trash about other aspects of the game. If you love the big things, if you love the Premier League, don't talk trash about your local MLS team. You want them to grow. You want them to have more people playing. You want them to develop players. If you don't want to go support that team for whatever reason you have, fine. Be that person. That's cool. Wouldn't you like it if they developed a kid from your town to go play for your favorite Premier League team? That'd be nice. That'd be cool. Hope they do well. Even if you don't want to support it, hope they do well. Soccer people need to stop trashing soccer. Drives me insane. It happens way too much in this country. Way too much. People with influence, people with voices who spread the love of the game when they want to, trash too many aspects of it. We can trash a coach for a tactics. We can do that because we're talking about the game. I'm saying, like, that league's garbage. This is stupid. This is never going to grow. This is always going to be less than something else. No. Let's all stop that. Let's grow the game. That's how it all gets better for all of us.
That's the last one on this particular topic. We have another couple of different topics. What's going on the Twitch pitch, and what else is on your mind?
Lots of conversation on the Twitch pitch. Nick Alifi says, if anything, we need to be more welcoming just from a business perspective. More fans equals more money, which helps the team justify spending mad money and authorizing third jerseys. Accurate. Wild Chara says, I'm very casual and people have told me how to fan and what to listen to. It's okay to take that stuff as a recommendation. It's all good. And some people have really good intentions with it. All that's good. But how to fan, I sometimes we get into that at times. It's not good. Soccer fans think they know how to fan more than maybe other sports fans in this country do. And you can fan however you want. If you love going and standing and chanting and singing and being that experience on your game day, cool, do it. It helps the atmosphere. It's great. Love it. If you want to sit and you're interested in the tactics and you want to sit and you want to pay attention and you want to try to pick out, all right, that's an overlap here. I think they should sub this person. Okay, they can attack this guy. Yeah, then do that. Enjoy the game how you want to enjoy the game. There's no one way. There's no right way and wrong way. Enjoy it. If you're in, you're in. And yeah, soccer people need to understand that too. If people are in the building and cheering and supporting and being part of the experience, welcome. Glad you're coming to the party. All good. It's weird. And look, for a lot of these situations, you've got people who are, thinking that it should be a certain way. You've got people that want it to be their way. You've got people who are used to it being smaller, all kinds of different things like that. We'll see where it goes. I hope it continues to grow. I hope it continues to get better. John, you hold on for a second. Why don't you carry it for a minute? Get some updated news. I will be right back.
Okay. Well, Nathan Pugh came in very early this morning. And one of his questions, and I'll bring it back in a little bit with Jason as well. Nathan's question, all the top 4 or 7 talk in England. Nathan's question was, who benefits most from moving on in the 5th round of the FA Cup? You're only 4 wins from a trophy, but the extra matches in #Trophy Talk and Tuesday Thoughts. And we have some of the FA Cup that's going on today at 12:30. Burnley's playing Bournemouth. Burnley in your juice boxes is a plus 131. Bournemouth a plus 225. Your draw is a plus 231. News on both of those teams in just a little bit. Manchester United plays West Ham at 230. Manchester United's a minus 154. It's going to be a heavily rotated side from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. West Ham is a plus 416, and your draw is a plus 313. So when I was looking at it this morning, I was looking at it, let's take the top 7 teams. Let's just do it that way with the Premier League. So right now in the Prem, Manchester City, Manchester United, Leicester, Liverpool, Chelsea, West Ham, Everton. That's your top 7. So if you look at it that way, I was looking at it, Nathan, from, being a benefit for the teams that are 5, 6, and 7, the Chelsea, the West Ham, the Everton, as opposed to the other 4, Manchester City, Manchester United, Leicester, and Liverpool, because you're looking at Manchester City chasing a title, chasing other things. Manchester United chasing a title, chasing other things, trying to stay in Europe. Leicester trying to stay in the European slots, and with a one match more than Manchester City, still the outside chance of chasing after a title of 43 points. And then Liverpool trying to stay top 4 and all of that. So I was looking at it as Chelsea getting more reps under Thomas Tuchel, becoming more familiar with what he wants to do on a game-by-game basis. West Ham chasing after a trophy with what David Moyes has been able to do this season with West Ham. And then Everton once again chasing after the idea of having a trophy under Carlo Ancelotti. So, Nathan, to answer your question, from my perspective, I thought that it would be the teams that are 5, 6, and 7, Chelsea, West Ham, and Everton, as opposed to the top 4 in the Prem, City, United, Leicester, and Liverpool. And so, Jason, the question came from Nathan this morning. All the top 4 or 7 talk in England, who benefits most from moving on in the 5th round of the FA Cup? You're only 4 wins from a trophy, but the extra matches. And I said it would benefit most the team that's 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah,
because they're chasing that trophy.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The top teams, City's in a little bit different situation because they got a cushion now. But yeah, even them, the ones who are chasing Champions League, you got to worry about that. You don't want FA Cup to be a distraction because of the extra games. You're not going to go out and throw it because the FA Cup is still important. You're not going to go out and field just a nothing team. Strummer John's right. Tottenham, I think, is a good shout here too.
Yeah, because
they're going to go all in for the cup. It's a big deal. So I think it's the lower. I'm with you, John. I think it's like 5, 6, 7, and lower than that who are going to really go for this. The other teams aren't going to field bad lineups. Maybe they kind of hope they get knocked out.
Yeah. But it's just like other things they got to focus on.
Yeah, I mean, like today. We've got West Ham and Manchester United today.
Right. Yeah, that's the late game.
Manchester United's not going to be too sad if they get knocked out there. But Ole's
and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer admitted that's going to be a rotated side.
Yeah, I mean, Ole's in a tough spot because he's got to fight for the title. They're probably a year away from winning that title. He's got to fight for Europa League now. He's got that balance, so it's tough.
And the news that I was promising on Burnley and Bournemouth. Bournemouth right now, Ari's helping out. Ari got asked, and he's helping out. Harry Redknapp picked up the phone from his former player and has been hanging out apparently with Bournemouth over the last couple of days, just kind of keeping an eye on practices and things.
Just hanging out.
Ari is helping out Bournemouth.
Just hanging out, just offering some advice from time to time.
When your former player, who's currently the caretaker manager, calls you up and says, "Hey, can you come and hang out at practice a little bit and just kind of watch the guys and tell me what you think?" That's what you got there. And then with Burnley, story came out in the Daily Mail where Sean Dyche admits that the business end of football and keeping Burnley in the Prem is always going to take priority over the FA Cup. So I think that once again. So I think that Sean Dyche is also in that pile of wouldn't be too sad if they got bumped out and even if it is a championship side in Bournemouth, he wouldn't be too sad about it because he's got bigger fish to fry.
The bottom end has to stay in the Premier League because of the money. The top end might have bigger fish to fry with Champions League or Europa League or fighting for a title. It's that middle group. So maybe 5 to 12 are the ones who are going to really go all in on FA Cup because they can afford to.
Ari's hanging out at Bournemouth. Ari Redknapp. Yee.
Okay.
I'd love to know what he sees, but okay.
But wow. All right.
Just what his feedback is, with Jonathan Woodgate. It's like, your former player picks up the phone. Hey, can you come and watch? I want to see what his feedback is.
You're throwing some Harry Redknapp slander out at us this morning.
I'm wondering if Harry would put his name in the pile to take over Bournemouth starting next season, and that this might be that first step in that.
Really? That's what you're wondering?
Maybe.
His former player, who he said nothing but good things about. Now you're accusing Harry Redknapp of opening the door.
No, it's not.
No, you just did. No, you absolutely did.
Accusing Redknapp, it's probably the front office.
Well, you said it differently just a second ago, and that's why I'm questioning you. Because the player invited him out. The front office did not invite him out.
Player invited him out.
The former player, who's now the manager.
Mm-hmm. True. Yes.
I don't even understand your black helicopter theories sometimes because they are so twisted.
It's like the Graham Jones theory at Newcastle. You bring in the number 2 guy to be.
No, that's more obvious. That's an easy one. I'm talking
because he's an amateur at it.
He is. He's not as impressive as Jared _Smith at the black helicopter theories. That's true.
Jarrett just comes helicoptering in.
Yeah, because you were blowing a black helicopter moment, so of course that's going to get Jarrett's attention.
Hey, black helicopters or San Jose, either one.
Yeah, those are the two things.
Either one gets me repelling through the glass ceiling.
It's true. Matias Almeida had a lot to say about not taking the Chile job, although he did like the project. He did like the idea. Didn't want to leave. They couldn't get the deal done in buying him out of his contract, and he's going to stay in San Jose. He's under contract for this year and next year. What does San Jose need to be this season? Are the Quakes fans, of which Jarrett Smith is a spokesperson, are the Quakes fans getting a little antsy about this is fun, this is cool, we got into the playoffs by the skin of our teeth last year. What's the expectation?
The expectation needs to be getting closer and closer to winning a trophy. You'd like to do it this year if you can and not have to leave it to that last year. I would imagine because of the way things have been going, that buyout must be it's too crippling for a pandemic world.
It's weird. It was reported at $3 million out of Mexico. I think the conversation around the Chile job was not anywhere near that ballpark. So I don't I don't know exactly what it is. I'm a little confused now at this point for sure. If it was 3, then yeah, that is crippling in a pandemic world.
But whatever it may be, what you're dealing with here is a situation where you're running out of time if you're San Jose, because this is a cool project you've done. You brought in Matias Almeida. You went out and you got a guy who has succeeded, and you brought him in. I don't know how long you're going to keep him. This, again, the Peter
You won't
Vermees
keep him
of the
past
world-
these next 2 years. No,
Yeah,
he's gone.
Yeah, the Peter Vermees of the world don't exist in mass quantity.
Yeah.
Guys who stay for more than 3 or 4 years, that doesn't happen usually. So don't expect that to happen in this case. So if you're going to win something, you need to do it now because he's going to go take another project when that contract is up.
Yeah, I think he's going to no matter what. I don't think there's any way he stays in San Jose past these next 2 years. I think he'll see his contract out. I think he's made that point pretty clear, and I wouldn't expect him to jump. But I don't think he comes back, and that's fine. I mean, that would be 4 years. That's good, but how do you judge the project? Because I felt like most of last season, now they turned it back on. I thought he was at risk of potentially losing his job. I thought they were in that conversation for a while there. He bounced back, got in. Okay, he had the exciting playoff game, all good. Well, what now? What's the next step? Are they a real contender in the Western Conference? Can they be? Is that even fair to expect? Because they finished 8th last season. LAFC was right ahead of them. You would expect LAFC will be much better this year at full health. FC Dallas ahead of them. I don't think FC Dallas will slide backwards. Colorado ahead of them. That could be one that San Jose could jump, and I think they should expect to. Minnesota, Portland, Seattle, Sporting are your top 4. Is 5th the jump for San Jose? Is that realistic, or is it scratching into the playoffs?
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
Is it? Can you get up there? Because I'm going to ask you the same question if you're San Jose about LAFC that I'm going to ask LAFC about Seattle. Can you beat the team that has bludgeoned you repeatedly? Because that's going to be, you're going to have to get through them at some point. We had to ask the same question about, can Atlanta get through Red Bulls? They did. Can LAFC ever get through Seattle in the playoffs? I don't know. Can San Jose get by LAFC, who consistently drop like 4 goals on them a game?
Yeah, I don't know. I think for San Jose, they will not get past LAFC, Portland, Seattle, Sporting. I don't think they're going to have enough talent. I don't think they're going to be able to bridge that gap in the season. Now, in a postseason, 1 game, yes, they could win that game. They could. But in the season, I think 5th is their ceiling.
Yeah.
I think that's as high as they can finish in the West. And if they do that, then that's fine. If that's what San Jose is trying to instill, you got 2 more years of Almeida. You have fun. You build something that can last. You build the next generation through. You play the young players. Okay. Where do you go from there? Is there going to be the spending to be competitive? I don't see it coming from this ownership group. So if that's the deal, is be a difficult team, be a competitive team, but ultimately be a lower playoff team in the Western Conference. Is that San Jose's ceiling? If it is, that's fine. But I don't know. I'm expecting, I guess for me, I need to see Almeida do a better job than he did last year. They don't need to be 8th out of 12 or 8th out of 13 now with Austin coming in. They need to be more like 5th.
Yeah.
And that's what he's done everywhere he's been when he's had great success, is he's taken that team that you don't think of as being a top team and gotten them to play over their heads. Can he do that? Can he get them there? Because you're not going to go out there and outgun some of these teams in the Western Conference. You're just not. So what do? How do you get over that hill?
I don't know.
Can you put it together for a magical run? And MLS seems like the perfect format for that, though. To play the advocate for it, MLS is the perfect kind of format for that because you get into the playoffs and you get hot at the right time. We've seen it before where the quote-unquote best team in the league can get wiped out in the first round, and somebody who you're not expecting, hello Columbus in 2017, can make a run that no one's ever expecting and becomes that team you don't want anything to do with.
Yeah, and they can be that. Postseason, absolutely. I think for the regular season, I'll be looking at them to finish higher than they did. I'll be looking at a better season.
Agreed completely.
Yeah, I think that's where it stands. On the MLS news front today, Cincinnati has made it official. They have signed Brenner from Sao Paulo, young designated player, 21 years old. He is scoring goals in the Brasileirão. This is a big signing for them. This is a big deal. And Cincinnati's showing some of that initiative to not be where they were last year. That's where I think the general conversation in MLS gets interesting, in that you've got teams that are looking to change their place in the league. You've got Cincinnati that is being aggressive in the East. They don't want to finish on the bottom. You've got DC who's going to build. Maybe they're not going to be aggressive, but over time you would expect them to not be last. You're not going to expect Atlanta to be 12th in the East. Chicago is building and growing and showing some patience. Miami is now talking to, according to The Athletic and the Daily Mail, they are looking at Kieran Gibbs on a free transfer this summer, West Brom's English defender. Yay. They are continuing talks with Stoke City's 33-year-old captain and defender Ryan Shawcross. Yay. Miami's going to have ambition to not be where they were last year. I don't know if those moves are necessarily the ones, but yay. Montreal is going to try. Montreal's all over the map, so I don't really know where they're going to be. New England is New England. I mean, they're going to get the most out of what they have to work with. Are they going to be able to start attracting Brenner-level talent rather than Gustavo Bou-level talent? Maybe. They have the money to spend if they so choose. So keep an eye on New England getting more aggressive. Nashville's good. They're building. They're fine. Red Bulls, we've had this conversation a million times. I don't know what they really want at this point. If they're just a development arm for the Red Bull soccer organization, cool. New York City has big expectations. If Ronny Deila doesn't have them in the top 4, I don't think he's back. Orlando is going big. Orlando is reportedly talking to Alexandre Pato. The legendary is not really the right word for it. An incredible player who had a ton of injuries, who is not what he used to be. I don't know what he is at this point, to be perfectly honest. I have no idea what he would be there. It's intriguing. But Orlando has shown they are not going to sit and be happy being an also-ran. Columbus is the defending champs, and they've gotten better in the offseason. Toronto maybe is going to take a step back while they readjust a bit. And Philadelphia should be reloading. That's their expectation. Are they going to be first? I don't know. I think Columbus is. But the East is crowded. The West is crowded. You got a lot of teams who are trying to step up in this league. That's fun. That's exciting. But it's also challenging for all of the teams around them to continue to try to get better as well.
Orlando got a taste of the good stuff in the playoffs. Now they want more.
Maybe they can not let that taste get them totally drunk and out of control and get into a barroom brawl.
It went full Dionysus. Let's get a taste. And then they were dancing on the tables. And
that was Hudge Punch that they ended up drinking.
Man, I think they had as many red cards as they did goals in that playoff run. So, I mean,
yeah, not good.
It was amazing to watch.
It was highly entertaining. Not good. Not good at all.
No, it wasn't good. It was just stunning is the word I would use.
Yes, they found new things that I would not have expected ever to see. Good on you for being entertaining, Orlando. We'll see if Pato can be entertaining for them. I just don't know what he has. I don't know where he is at this point. It's an interesting one, and with the Brazilian connections for Orlando and their ownership, then go for it. You can do it, go for it. I mean, should Pato be an upgrade on Dom Dwyer and what we saw out of him last year? Yeah, I would hope so. Okay. If he's a guy off the bench, if he's a spot starter, if he starts 20 games this season and impacts games, cool. He's not going to be a 34-game starter. He's not going to be that, but he could be a really good piece for them and add to a team with a lot of good pieces. He just won't be what he was at Milan. He won't be what he was supposed to be. And that's a shame, but it happens with injuries all the time. Jarrett, one quick update on Scotland.
Hey.
Yes, John, thank you. The lower leagues were hoping to come back. They are not going to this month. This has really wrecked the Scottish Cup, and we're going to talk about the U.S. Open Cup in just a second. But are you getting any idea of what the SPFL is going to do about the Scottish Cup with the lower league teams below the championship not playing right now? He's eating haggis.
Yeah, he's thinking.
He's muted is what he is.
Good times. You and the mute button.
I haven't seen anything about what they're going to do. I have genuine questions about what they're going to do and how they're going to sort all this out. They've already suspended one of their tournaments this year, or one of their cups, excuse me. I don't know if they suspend more. I mean, you've got one more cup final coming up. I believe it's Livingston and St. Johnstone. I don't know what you do in this situation though, because I don't know if I don't know if you do these games, if you suspend things, because do you view it as it is completely unfair to the lower division teams that can't take part in this, that can't potentially make runs and get some extra revenue thrown in here? I mean, what kind of shape are they going to be in, even aside from this, as far as staying solvent?
Oh, and Ricky Ricardo is asking, do you have any feelings about the player going from Celtic to Red Bulls?
Oh, yeah, we went over that. I'll rehash it again real quick for you. He started one match for Celtic when everybody was in quarantine because they were too stupid not to take a trip to Dubai. He played in a miserable conditioned game. Wasn't really great, but again, the conditions were positively trash. So it was hard to criticize him too much. It looks like he was just wasn't going to be given much of a run there. So I don't blame him for taking the option to go to New York Red Bulls because, he'll probably get a chance to play there. And that's apparently not going to happen at Celtic for any young player. No,
Neil Lennon doesn't like young players. There's some speculation, Jarrett, about what you're up to. We've got, are you working in an animal shelter? Are you in a bird cage? Are you at the grocery store? Are you cleaning zoo cages? What are you doing?
Grocery store was the right one. I had to run out.
There you go. Mazzano wins.
Mazzano wins. I'm not sending you anything for winning.
No, you win nothing.
The satisfaction that you were right.
You just, yes, that's all you get. Sorry. But Mazzano
nobody wins anything.
Where is Jarrett down here? Yeah, that's the grocery store most often.
Yeah. But, you had a player who left who went to Red Bulls who's going to get a chance to actually play. Celtic actually makes a little money off this because they scouted him, brought him in through the academy. He was apparently very impressive when he was playing with the youth team, and it just hasn't translated. They're also going to probably lose Karamoka Dembele to a free transfer, although we don't know if he's actually going to be anything great, even though he was kind of tipped to be something great. But, they also haven't really played a lot of their young guys lately, and they're not even doing that now. Even though the league's over, they're still playing a bunch of old guys all the time and not seeing what they have for the future. So, whatever.
I love where the Celtic fan base is at this point. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever.
Jarrett, you were right. Livingston and St. Johnston play in League Cup on the last day of the month.
That's the League Cup final, correct?
Yes. And Livingston lost a match for the first time in like a month and a half last weekend.
So what would, if the League Cup in England is the Gummy Bear Cup, what would the equivalent be in Scotland?
Haggis?
What's like the Winn-Dixie version of like the off-brand 99-cent gummy bears you can buy that are next to the good candy?
There's different names in different places for them, but I know what you're talking about.
It's like
they're faded and they look like they've dried out, and they look like they have like a film on them or something. Yeah, it's really bad. It's disturbing that you're going to even think about putting that in your body, but that would be Scotland.
Yes.
The League Cup in
Scotland
anyway.
is the only place in the known universe that looks at America and goes, "You didn't fry that enough."
Nick says,
they look at the Texas State Fair where they deep fry everything. Scotland's like, okay, yeah, what are you going to do after noon?
Nick says, get me the Piggly Wiggly knockoff brands.
Sunrise is the brand name at Winn-Dixie, Jarrett.
Oh, Sunrise
There
is
you
other
go.
places I thought, too.
Growing up, there was like a Winn-Dixie and a Wonderland Video right next to it. That's what we always did, was go shopping and then go to the Wonderland Video and rent a movie.
Oof.
Winn-Dixie actually had to recall their Sunrise gummy bears back in 2011.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Oof.
There you go.
That's probably exactly why.
And in 2017.
That's not good. What's also not great is the U.S. Open Cup format for 2021. I'm glad they're doing it. I'm glad they're finding a way, and it's still going to be a mess. 24 teams is what you're going to do. It's going to start May 4th to 5th. The final's going to be June 29th to 30th. 16 teams from the lower divisions will face off in the first round. 8 MLS teams will be waiting to play those winners. It's all you can do. The winner is going to get a 2022 CONCACAF spot. We don't know how they're going to be determined yet. They're going to be selected from all the different professional leagues and the 36 amateur teams that had qualified last year. Paul Marstaller of the U.S. Open Cup Committee, the commissioner, said that will all be worked out in the coming weeks. There's a number of possibilities, and U.S. Soccer will be working with each of the participating leagues to sort out what the best path possible is in each circumstance. And if these teams say, yes, I can play, and then they have a COVID outbreak, there's not a lot of room. Like, if they can't get these games in, then U.S. Soccer will just pick teams to go through. Like, that's what you got to do. Yeah. Turner says, I assume Atlanta will be there because they won the last one. I think that's a safe assumption. I don't know if they'll do it based off of the league table last year instead. I have no idea. There's really nothing to base it on. I'm down with it if Atlanta is in it. I love the Open Cup. I'm glad they're doing it in some form or fashion here and not just shelving it another year. But this one is just going to be weird and strange because it's all you can do in 2021, especially in the first half of the year.
Yeah, and trying to figure out which teams from the lower divisions, because if it's MLS, Championship, League One, NISA, part of that whole amateur dynamic, how do you determine who gets in and who doesn't, from the lower divisions too?
There's no easy way you're going to determine anything. It's
right.
Basically going to be like, all right, do you want to do this?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to start with a list and you're going to say, do you want to play? Yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, that's all you can do right now. I agree, Turner. I mean, if you're not chosen to be in it, it stinks to not have a chance to defend your title. That's why I'd like to see them in. Obviously, we're biased, but if they're not, if they just go on the 8 best MLS teams from last year that are U.S.-based, then that's fine. I mean, that would make sense. I have no problem with that. If they do what they've done in the past and they do the best 8 teams at whatever, date, okay, cool. Do that. If that's the case, then do that. They did that back in the day when all MLS teams did not participate in the Open Cup. They had a certain date that the best teams qualified. They did that in the A-League, too, because I remember when I was with the Ruckus working in the front office, went to Nashville to play the Nashville Metros in a park with, metal bleachers. That was the stadium that they had. And the Ruckus had to win to have a chance to get into the Open Cup, and they lost. It was raining. It was nasty, and the field, had ruts in it. It was not fun. That was not a fun drive there and back on a miserable night because he didn't qualify for the Open Cup. Maybe they do that. Maybe it's the 8 best teams in the league at whatever the deadline date is, 2 weeks before that round. Maybe that's how you do it. I don't know. Everybody plays 4 games, and then it's all about goal differential and whatever. Who knows?
But no, I'm just, like I said, I'm glad that they're doing it this year. But, as we get closer, we'll figure out who you in? Okay, good. And we'll see what happens.
All right, a few more minutes before we wrap up. No 3-hour show today. It will be a 2-hour show today. Maybe we'll run a little bit longer another day this week. I'm sure it will happen. On the women's side, Casey Kruger, you will probably remember as Casey Short. She got married in December. Casey Kruger has replaced Alana Cook on the U.S. roster for the She Believes Cup. Cook was not released by PSG because of that mandatory 7-day quarantine that she would have to do coming back to France. FIFA, we talked about it yesterday, extended those COVID rules so teams could not or they could opt not to release players who had to go through at least a 5-day quarantine on any of their national team journeys. Alana Cook would have to do that coming back. PSG said no. Casey Kruger comes in. 32 caps, 1 in 2020. She played in the last match of the She Believes Cup. She's had some injuries. She did play for Chicago in the Challenge Cup last season in WSL. England, their interim manager, Hege Riise, has picked a lineup or at least a roster for her first squad. She is the interim manager. She will be preparing England in the interim until Serena Wiegman takes over from the Netherlands, but also will be preparing for Team GB in the Olympics this summer, which has got to be an awkward situation altogether. Brought in 20 players for a friendly with Northern Ireland February 23rd. Did not bring in Beth Mead. Did not bring in Nikita Paris. I'm really surprised about Nikita Paris missing out. But, and this was not in the BBC report, Nikita Paris is at Lyon. I am wondering if she was not called in because of this quarantine situation and all of that. It would make a lot of sense. Nikita Paris is a really fun player to watch. I would like to see her play as much as possible. Couple more games in Europe have been moved to other places in Champions League and Europa League. Mönchengladbach is not going to host Manchester City. That is going to be in Budapest. That was announced yesterday. Strict coronavirus entry rules in Germany. Can't come in from the UK. Real Sociedad hosting Manchester United. It's not going to be in Spain. It is probably going to be at the Allianz Stadium in Turin, in Italy, because can't bring in UK people to Spain. Yeah, this is going to be complicated. But these games have been moved. They go along with the Leipzig-Liverpool game that has been moved. There's probably going to be more. I mean, I have to look at the list of English teams going to places and who is allowed and who isn't. But I would expect there will be a couple more that will come up. You know, these games are the Sociedad or Real Sociedad Manchester United games February 18th. The Mönchengladbach Manchester City game is scheduled for February 24th. You got people that are going to have to make some decisions pretty quick on these things. Thursday, we've got the Club World Cup final with Tigres and Bayern Munich. Robert Lewandowski with a couple goals yesterday, no surprise. Alak Lee was kind of fun to watch early on because they were chaotic and crazy. Left a ton of space at times, and Lewandowski finally punished him for it. That should be a fun game just in the sense that it's CONCACAF with an opportunity to make some noise. I think Tuca Ferretti is going to have his team sit back. They're going to look to hit on the break. Quinones out on the break could cause some problems. Gignac with an opportunity can definitely cause some problems. Bayern hasn't been great. Crazier things have happened. It would be insane if Tigres beat Bayern in this game. Things would be nuts. There would be so much talk out of Mexico. It would be insane. And CONCACAF can all talk. They can all talk and pound on their chests and be very happy about themselves because this would be a huge deal. It is possible. We'll talk about it more tomorrow and Thursday to get you ready for that. We did not get into the details here yet, but we will quickly. Why do you do interpretive dance to this, John? It's a little disturbing.
See, it's like, honestly, for not having like spaghetti Western outfits, this sounds like...
We're talking about Spain, John.
I know, but this is where they shoot them. They shot them in Italy.
Yeah, but we're talking about Spain.
But it just sounds like, the good...
You don't need an outfit. You don't need a cowboy outfit. We're talking about Spain.
This sounds like Ennio Morricone.
We're talking about Spain.
I'm aware of this.
No, you're not, obviously. Sergio Ramos. It is being reported that he will be leaving. Deportes Cuatro has this morning. He has informed the club he's leaving. He's going to another European club. He has rejected their contract renewal offer. Also, they might need to get Sergio Ramos's kids playing today because Real Madrid is playing Getafe in a Spanish league match that was postponed from week 1. They got 11 senior outfield players in this 19-man squad.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 of the 11 are going to start, and then they've got a bunch of kids on the bench. Yee. That's no bueno. Barcelona, to continue with the telenovela theme, they are very angry at Sport, the leading outlet in Barcelona, about...
How angry are they?
It didn't really work that way, but okay. They are angry because Leonardo, the sporting director at PSG, has talked about Messi. Pochettino has talked about Messi. Angel Di Maria has talked about Messi. Paredes has talked about Messi. Now Verratti has talked about Messi. They have all come out to speak in public about Lionel Messi's future and his chances of moving to PSG. France Football put him on the cover with a PSG shirt on. Barca and Messi are tired of the game, and Ronald Koeman has said he feels the constant stream of comments is disrespectful. Verratti said, "Of course I would like to play with Messi. I would give him and Neymar the ball and sit back and watch a little bit. It would be amazing to have him with us. Another present for me from football." I don't think they're signing him for you, Verratti, but okay, whatever. He is the latest from PSG to show a lack of respect by constantly talking about a player who is Barca's captain and emblem. This is only going to get worse as we get closer to that series, and it's going to be a mess. Leti did slip up yesterday in La Liga. They haven't opened up too big of a door, but they slipped up. First time in 9 games. 2-2 draw. Celta Vigo had a late equalizer. Luis Suarez keeps scoring goals. He's leading the league in scoring. Barca let him walk on the free. We'll always remind you of that. 89th minute equalizer. 2-2 draw. Celta Vigo was pretty good. Atleti was not great in this game. I'm still all in on Atleti winning La Liga. I'm still all in on them being a Champions League contender, but that's a little bit of a hiccup.
Yes.
It's just a little bit of a hiccup you got to worry about. And the big news today was what we talked about at the beginning of the show with Hector David Martinez of Defensa y Justicia right now, who 50% of his pass is owned by River Plate. It was expected after Marcelo Gallardo called him. He is a River product. He is a River fan. He developed at the club. He wants to play for River. He also wants a contract that is maybe not exactly what it was offered from Atlanta, but a little something for the effort. Wants a little bit of that. And we got to see what River's going to do. We got to see what kind of offer they're going to put in front of him. I don't think they have to match it. I don't know if they can, to be perfectly honest, with just where things are with everything else they're trying to do and what the numbers look like for a player that I don't know if they think he's going to be a starter, if he's going to be a top player for them, and they're going to pay him accordingly. They're probably going to argue no, so they're going to try to pay him less. Can they make an offer that he would accept? Yes. Will they is the question. And I don't know. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. We've not heard any comments from Marcelo Gallardo about that just yet. We'll keep you posted on the updates about this because I'm sure there will be more. River plays tomorrow, so there's going to be a lot of talk about River Plate and everything they're trying to do. It looks like they've got the deal done for the winger Palavecino coming from Deportivo Cali. They are still linked to a center back from Nacional in Uruguay. I don't know if that would be instead of Martinez or if Martinez jumped ahead of him in the numbers and in the priority list. I don't know. But there's going to be some back and forth here. It's not going to get decided in an hour, I don't think. So stay tuned. There's plenty of good sources out of Argentina. You guys know who they are already. Cesar Luis Merlo, Herman Grova. You're going to have a lot of different people talking about this as the news comes out. I don't even think it's a situation with Atlanta bidding. I don't think Atlanta's going to be like going back and forth on this one because it's kind of complicated. Like they, by all accounts, agreed to a deal with Defensa. Now River is hijacking the deal, which Defensa is going to go along with, but the player needs to go along with it too, and that's where the hiccup is on River's end. So does the player get an offer back from River and say, well, then, hey, let me run back over here. Hey, Atlanta, they've upped their offer here. Can you give me more? Are they going to go back and forth? The player and the agency could do that. It's smart business. Is it going to get the deal done? We don't know. So stay tuned. We'll keep you posted on that. Make sure you're following OSG Nelson on Twitter because his Twitter's still broken. Make sure you're following Soccer Down Here. I'm at Longshoe, Jarrett_Smith, Nick Alifi, Sock over there, SOC over there for all the latest stuff that happens. We'll keep you posted. We'll be back tomorrow. Probably not a 3-hour show, but maybe a little bit longer than right at 2 hours. Maybe, possibly. We'll see. Thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it, as always. If you're a subscriber and you're not in the Discord, give me a heads up. We've got a couple new subscribers that maybe invites slip through the cracks. Give me a heads up. We'll get you into the Discord. We will be doing another Q&A on Thursday. And have a good rest of the day. Much plot, y'all.
Much plot, y'all.